The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
It is the halfway stage, the end of this race. It is all about finding that next level and having that opportunity to say, I can make a championship charge. It was all about what Silverstone offered, and it offered the first time that we've seen back-to-back out here in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. But when you come to the Temple of Speed, nothing's ever truly easy around here, no matter how easy everyone says this circuit is. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching around the world here with Velocity Esports Racing, with action here brought to you today for the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. My name is Jake Sperry, and hopefully with a little bit of camera in the next couple moments, got Adam Reed alongside with me for the ride. Adam, an important circuit, Monza, in the context of the history of motorsport. One of the first circuits out there that really proved that you've got to go out there and throw everything you've got on the board, and did everything that needed to be done. Still to this day, it is one of the few circuits in the world that says it is legendary every time you step on its soil.
Hi Jake, absolutely. We are running around one of the most famous circuits in motorsport, and we're really hoping to see a hugely exciting race. I definitely think we'll get it. We've had so much action in the last 3 races that we've had around Zolder, then we went to Silverstone, then we went to the hills of Bathurst. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing how that kind of comes to fruition. We've got so many drivers within an opportunity of getting big points or even a podium, but I think that's the main thing everyone's going to be looking for, is that race win. But it seemed to be only 2 candidates that seem to be gunning for those top spots.
Yeah, and it's those 2 candidates that we have certainly kept an eye out on. You saw us for a couple of moments there, but We'll be getting over to all of that shortly with some amazing action brought to you with Gaming Malta and in collaboration with Hyundai, with Intercomp, with Sunshine Snacks, with Level Academy and with JACAP. Let's talk last time out. And what was the big difference makers last time out? Sheldon Muscat and Adrian Manduka both having an issue up at the top of the hill at Mount Panorama Bathurst. But the key was that Sheldon Muscat was able to mastermind the strategy in the middle of the race and pull off the victory, and as such move 6 points clear at the front of the championship. So no arguments to be had there. Sheldon Muscat going back to back. Ryan Carabot proving best of the rest in third position. But Adam, really it was a race all about who could mastermind their pit stop and gain that tiny bit of advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very much a choice in terms of strategy. Where do you pick your pit stop to go around this circuit that we're looking at Bathurst? Because it's so tight, so twisty, so technical that it's so difficult to make an overtake. And my goodness me, was it a really, really enjoyable race. But the strategy was kind of the main opportunity for these drivers to get a result. Also, Ryan Carabot getting his first podium of the championship. He'll be absolutely delighted with that and hoping to carry that momentum through in toward the great race of Monza. I definitely think he's had a few ups and downs, mainly downs. He's really struggled in those first couple of opening laps in the first two races, but really came back and really managed to settle himself in to what is a very, very difficult car, a very, very difficult circuit, a difficult championship as well. So he may be someone to look out for to score big points tonight.
Well, let's talk the championship standings, because Sheldon Muscat is clear at the moment by 6, courtesy of his victory over the top over Adrian Manduka. Aaron De Batista's 4th place finish means that he stays within 1 race wins difference in 3rd position, exactly 30 points behind. You've then got Denzel Agius, whose consistent finishes put him in 4th ahead of Ryan Carabot. And then, of course, you have got the other one of the Agiuses out there, which will be Angelo Agius, who's putting in great performances in the Mustang. You've got then Alexander Galea and also Samuel Mifsud. And the thing I'm noticing really well right now is that you can put 4th down to 8th within 5 championship points. It's a brilliant midfield scrap that we've got going on right now, Adam.
It is absolutely amazing, and it is still very, very close up at the midpoint of the standings. But it's the top 3 you're aiming for, or maybe even a top 4. I think that's what you're going to be aiming for. But ultimately, you do want to be getting those podium spots. You do want to be getting those 16, those 19, those 24, and those 30 points, respectively. Those give you the big opportunity to fight for this championship. If you're not in that top 3, you might as well wave goodbye to a lot of these to that championship. But it is those top 3 you're mainly seeing: Manduka, Muscat, De Baptista, that are just proving to be worth it in the championship and just staying in the mix as much as they possibly can.
Well, they want to be in the mix and they want to try and prove what they've got. Let's talk about where this circuit brings itself into play here. Viale de Verdano, here, the National Park of Monza, about 5 kilometers away from the industrial heartland of Italy and the fabled city of Milan. That opening chicane being very important, but a circuit like this does not get designed in the modern world anymore, Adam. You look at this circuit and say it's got absolutely no challenges presenting itself to it, except a couple of chicanes, a couple of 90-degree corners. It seems very much a basic circuit to be had, but in its simplicity, it is difficult, and the difficulty of this track is just carrying all of that speed, knowing that overtaking is the most important aim of the game.
Absolutely. You can see there from this onboard lap that it's a fairly difficult circuit in terms of trying to keep it within the white track limits, as well as trying to get those chicanes perfectly correct. When you get them bang on, you'll be able to mount an attack on the cars in front of you, especially when you're putting one under pressure and you're trying to force them into a mistake. You're very, very looking likely, if you try and put them over one of those chicanes, one of those sausage curves, they're going to launch their car, and unfortunately for them, they are going to to have their momentum completely broken. And around this circuit, you do not want your momentum broken. You want to be carrying as much as you possibly can for those long straights, and to try and get the best out of the corners as well. I think setup is going to be very interesting here. How much downforce do you want to put on the car as well? How much straight line speed as well?
Well, it's going to be about trying to mastermind all of the particularities that we'll see at Monza. It's slightly different to most of the other circuits that you'll expect drivers to go around. But we're going to take this moment to step aside for just one moment here with the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, because when we come back, we will be fully into the thralls of qualifying, and we will see who will put themselves on pole here, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza.
How I'm loving life these days.
The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
And so then to qualifying in the dark. And that proves to be a completely different challenge here today for these drivers. They have had 3 races so far this season, which have been in bright sunlight conditions. We throw the lights on, and this track becomes a completely different animal.
It really does. I think that it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge in terms of visibility to try and attack this circuit. It's going to be a little bit more difficult knowing where those curbs are. Where can you put the car? Where can you put the? Where can you go a little bit wider? Where can you potentially find those opportunities to make as much of your lap count as possible? You've seen there with McLaren. You see that you got a little bit from the sunlight from the mirrors, not the mirrors, from the lights from the car, but you're not being able to see much from, especially if in the long vision.
Yeah, that long vision there. You've got those light beams, of course, from the headlights that are there. The only real lighting you're going to get around this circuit is on that little bit around the paddock on the front stretch. Aaron De Battista, currently the fastest driver in qualifying on a 146.822, 0.3 of a second clear of Sheldon Muscat, your championship leader, and Adrian Manduca, who is second in the championship. So De Battista, who's had maybe some would say a little bit of a shaky start to this season now, might be trying to put himself in the picture and saying, well, I can still have some form and I can certainly make some challenges. Muscat over the line puts a 46.9 down on the board. That improves by 0.2, but not close enough to push that forward a little bit more into the realm of pole position currently, but it is a good improvement for the Bentley.
It is a good improvement, and I think that's exactly what he needs to be doing. He just needs to keep going forward. He should keep improving in times. He has got a little bit of an opportunity, a little bit of a window to change the setup if possible, go onto a fresh set of tyres and be able to warm those up, but he's got to make that decision very soon. But De Battista looking pretty comfortable there in his number 26 McLaren. I think he's on for a decent time so far with that 146.822. I'm more looking at Adrian Manduca, of course, the 93 Ferrari with 2 pole positions in his back pocket, and the other one who currently has a pole position is De Battista there in P1. So I think it's going to be a titanic battle between the two, but please do not count out the Bentley. Muscat is going to be one to really look out for in that Bentley with such straight line speed.
Yeah, and that Bentley is going to be rather important. Lest we forget as well, this is a home soil circuit for the Ferraris, the 5 of them that we have here today with Manduca, Carabot, Smith, Mifsud and Martinelli. who are all there, and that is commitment. Absolutely sliding. Manduka has just gone second fastest as De Battista improves to a 0.665 out there and jumps up and does a bit more. So Manduka would have been within a tenth of a second, but ultimately just falls the wrong side of it. Ryan Carabot down in 5th position, maybe struggling a little bit more around here. And suddenly you've got one of the Agius brothers, who's one of the Agiuses who has moved up. Denzel Agius has just moved up, I believe, into the 4th position, with Angelo Agius, a different Agius, they're in 5th position in the Ford Mustang. So definitely some difference makers out there at the moment, but your top 3 clear at half a second compared to the rest of the field. Samuel Mifsud looking for his first time on the board. Martinelli has just put his time down. He's 2.1 seconds adrift, and so we'll see what the last of the Ferraris can do.
Absolutely, Mifsud is going to come over the line. He's going to try and mix it up with the rest of the pack. He goes over that timing. Bean goes up to 7th, 1.1 seconds off De Baptista. So not too bad there for the number 12 Ferrari of Samuel Mifsud. I definitely think he's got a little bit more left on the table with the 11 minutes and 20 seconds that he has. But at this moment in time, he's just got to try and carry that momentum. As I said, there's still that window to come into the pit lane and make those setup changes. So make those tyre changes, make whatever changes you think will be necessary to the car. But again, it's all about that tyre temperature warming. I think they will be able to make it happen though.
Yeah, and of course, because we are in colder conditions, you do need the tyres to warm up. It does take slightly longer, and you are very much reliant on getting that tyre temperature in. So we might see a bit of weaving on some of the outlaps, trying to get a little bit more heat into the tyres at in-sim time 9:10 in the evening. Rushing through the second of the 2 Lesmo corners, these transfer corners, and you can see how hard Samuel Mifsud's pushing there in 7th position overall, and how much he's really got to unlock this circuit around here, because going under the banking and back up the hill once again, it's all right having a reference marker when it's all nice and sunshine. When you put it in the dark, you completely lose your reference markers, as Denzel Agius moves to within half a second of the rate of the qualifying pole time set by another McLaren, De Battista.
Absolutely. You talk about those kind of braking reference points. Of course, they're going to be shifted. Usually you need to use something standing, something that will be there the entire session, not moving, and just kind of break that reference point where you would. But in the dark, it's so much more difficult. Sometimes you're having to choose kind of a patch of grass, or sometimes you need to choose maybe a marker board if it can't be seen, maybe a part of a bridge. But there's so many different opportunities to try and get that breaking point down. But of course, it will be very much shifted for the vision of the eye. They can't really see too much, as we talked about earlier, that long vision. They can't see that. They're going to have to brake as soon as they see something relating to their point, and then just try and use that as much as possible. It's a bit easier in some corners, like the first chicane, like going into maybe the first of the 2 Lesmos, but ultimately it is proving to be a little bit more difficult in the night sky.
Yeah, and so looking for a bit more pace is going to be important. Denzel Agius in the Project Versio Den's car has certainly done everything possible to close down that gap. It has been a large divide over the opening stages of this season, but seeing these drivers now trying to find the difference, because there are less braking zones, do you feel like this is going to be one of the few circuits where we're going to see those margins just a little bit closer, more chance for other drivers to step up?
I think it'll be definitely an invitation for some drivers to be able to step up and make their mark, especially if they're starting to lag behind. They're going to a circuit that is well known, of course, very short compared to the other circuits. When we were getting 2-minute 2s back at Silverstone, now we're getting 146.6s, maybe so mid 46s. So it will be inviting to close that gap down a bit. And sometimes some drivers might use this entire season as a bit of a test session, then try and go one step further, going into another season of the championship. But at this moment in time, it's just another way they can try and draw closer, and I do think Monza will be the best way to do it.
Yeah, Monza is certainly going to be one of those tracks where you get that understanding of, okay, I can certainly make a lot more of it, and it's a track that's certainly a lot more practiced, I would say, than some of the others that you find, especially in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. You get a lot of great racing around here, so we expect it. And there is Angelo Agius in 5th position. He is 100th to the good on Ryan Carabot right now, but we're down to 7 minutes and 20 seconds, and every single driver is out there on circuit. So it's a case of you got to get the lap times right now, otherwise there could be trouble later, as Alexander Galea just jumps up to 7th position, now 1 second and a quarter of a tenth behind then your overall pole sitter.
Absolutely. So not looking too bad there for Alexander Galea. Still making improvements, still making strides in that number 22 McLaren as he continues to hoist his car around the lap. Meanwhile, Angelo Agius starting to just try and get the car in, but found it a little bit difficult there in that Ford Mustang. He's gone very, very wide off into the gravel trap, so he'll have to now potentially just reset his lap. But I don't know if that's going to be the way to go either. He's really damaged his momentum all throughout that, and I would expect there to be potentially a little bit of floor damage. I wonder on this car.
Yeah, that could be definitely a concern if he's gone over a little bit too aggressively. Sheldon Muscat has improved on his time, but not on position. He's now just 0.03 of a second behind Adrian Manduca, looking to move up to 2nd overall on the boards. But right now, it's a case of, well, the lights are out and everyone's looking for something to say to move themselves up. We noticed that Ryan Carabot's now gone 5th fastest with his lap time, but on with Sheldon Muscat here, through the Piassano curve and over towards the Della Roggia, the river chicane, the 2nd chicane out there, and he's really having to tiptoe into the corner. He wants to maximise the exit.
He really, really does, and I think that's going to be super, super important all throughout this circuit. You're trying to maximise your exits as best you possibly can. He's really pushing the limits to sure there how much he was trying to use as much of the circuit he possibly can through both of the Lesmos through the top of the circuit. Now he'll head all the way down and underneath the old circuit that had the big old banking that's so infamous when you go to Monza. It's a must explore when you do go to the circuit. I think we've had an improvement there from Aaron De Baptiste to go half a second clear of Adrian Manduca. So it's McLaren from Ferrari, from Bentley from McLaren, the top 4 there, followed by another McLaren, another Ferrari there of Carabot. But Muscat is going to try and change that up here in the number 14 Bentley.
Yeah, he's certainly wanting to change the script, but Aaron De Battista is now half a second clear with a 46.3 in qualifying. Every time they start getting a little bit closer, he says, you know what, how high do you want to reach? And that's been a difference maker. Muscat goes to the front row. He's 0.3 off the pace, though, and pulls it aside, so he'll have one more run to get back up to speed with it. So De Battista currently holding it there in the Intercomp VMD Sim Sport car, but it's not the championship leaders one, who is currently the fastest as things stand. It's up to Manduca now to really raise his game, but we know that Manduca is traditionally a better racer out there than a qualifier.
He is, and I think this is really going to pay into potential advantage going into later on. He's going to have his qualifying done and dusted, but this still doesn't mean that Muscat can is just going to give up this one. He's actually Manduca's going to give up this one. He's just going to try and fight for all that he can, but De Baptiste looks like he's absolutely flying on this lap.
Yeah, he is absolutely marauding forward and hoping that this lap will improve once again through the Curva Alboreto, sliding the back out, and that might be the lap there as he threw everything he could at that final corner and more, dives it down into the pits, and crucially is going to run the car into the pits, which is a different way of doing it. Takes the quick reset and looks to go again. Muscat back out there on circuit once more, but it shows you how hard they're pushing.
It really does show that they're trying to get everything out of their lap time. You see there, Manduca was also trying to aggressively use those curves on the inside of the left-hander out of Ascari. And now we're going to just try and charge all the way down to the final corner of Parabolica. swing the car in nice and smooth, trying to get it right out to the left-hand side before then trying to put the car back towards the right-hander to try and close the line off. And I think he's actually going for another lap time here. So I think that was potentially another setup lap here. Indeed it was, because he did a 46.9, which is a tenth slower, but he's still got more opportunity with 2.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and those 2.5 minutes are going to be important, because once the clock strikes 0, no more laps can be started. You may only finish the end of those laps. And Adrian Manduka currently in a little bit of no man's land right now. 2/10 behind Muscat, 3/10 ahead of Denzel Agius, and hoping to try and find a little bit of an advantage. It's amazing, though, here, really, Adam, the difference that 1 week makes, because Aaron De Battista was nowhere at Mount Panorama by comparison.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how those kind of top three we're seeing at this moment in time do differ from the way they are now in Monza, because I think with De Baptiste's current pole position, I think that will fill them with a little bit more confidence to be able to hopefully challenge these two, maybe being able to try and go a little bit defensive into the first corner, but sometimes it can end in a little bit of chaos. But Manduka, I think, will just continue pushing for this moment in time now. He knows in himself that he is more of a racer. He knows that his race pace is unbelievable, and unfortunately there, skipping over the gravel will not help your case. I think that's going to spell the end there for Adrian Manduka. He looks to be pulling off to the right-hand side of the road, and that's going to spell the end of his qualifying session unless he tries and goes for that one final ditch attempt.
Yep, so that's not ideal for Adrian Manduka. It will mean at this point, at best, he will manage third position unless he pulls the car over to one side and goes for one more lap, hoping that his tyres aren't there. Muscat taking a big wide line through the curve at Alboreto to now gear up for one final flyer out here on circuit. He's hoping that he can string this all together on a circuit that is built on the high speed. The Bentley, which is one of the most hulking units of machinery that you've got out here running, is going to be one that is definitely going to be worth keeping the eyes on. Number one car, Jamie Smith's pulled it over to one side. It's not going to go any quicker than 9th position, and Denzel Agius will not improve on 4th place, but now heading over with about 18 seconds left to go in this qualifying push. You start looking at Sheldon Muscat and saying, what can he find on the board? Now looking over towards the Della Roggia, he will hit the brakes at the marker board and look to try and turn in. You're dancing on a level and looking to attack off of the exit. Checkered flag is out. All of your top three still there, and lest we not forget that Ryan Carabot could find something. He's been auspiciously at ACER. De Battista puts it in the barriers at the second Lesmo, so he can't improve. So it's now just down to Muscat and Manduka, 1 and 2 in the championship efforts right now to go and make what is necessary. And the key here up the hill is that you look at what we're on car 14. Car 93 is just in front of Sheldon Muscat and will be ahead of him to set the time. So the banker's there. Car 13 is off the road, so no improvement's going to be found by Ryan Carabot. He will stay 5th. Galea crosses the line. He stays 7th. Samuel Mifsud, then Sheldon Muscat and Adrian Manduka, the three who can make something happen. We've also got as well Chris Gatt, who might be able to find some time, but he'll need to improve by at least 2.5 seconds if he wants to gain any meaningful traction down. But Muscat will make that drive to the line. Manduka improved, but not by enough. Muscat to the line improves, but not by enough. Aaron De Battista surely has the pole.
Yeah, it must do. There's no one who real enough to challenge him. But that was a superb lap from Aaron De Baptista earlier on in the session. As the fuel continued to drain, the tyres went up to temperature, and of course the track kind of cooled down a little bit. But there you go, Muscat Manduka could not handle the challenge of that McLaren. That seemed to be in some sort of sweet spot. Samuel missed it across the timing beam. He'll go over the line. He'll improve his time, but will stay in 8. But wow, have we got a superb qualifying session we have just had. But we'll have all 11 of those cars going around here for 45 minutes, and I wonder who's going to come out on top in this one. It is set for an amazing one here, with the McLaren setting up on pole position, his second pole position of the season since Silverstone for Aaron De Baptiste. But Muscat, with that straight line speed in the Bentley, will be very, very vicious, trying to look for another win, his third in a row. But also, you can't count Adrian Manduca on the Ferrari's home soil.
No, you really can't, and that's what's going to be so important. We're going to step aside for just one moment here in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. It will be race time in the dark at Monza after this.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
Life these days.
The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
And so they pull off for their one formation lap here in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. This is round 4 out of 8 that they will have. There's the end of this race. We will mark ourselves at halfway along the season. Jake Sperry and Adam Reed bring you all of the action then as these drivers look to get some temperature into their tyres and get ready for racing. It's a surprise on pole with Aaron De Baptiste, third in the championship, putting himself up there on the front. He hasn't had the pace of the top 2 all season, but Adam, this is a golden opportunity.
Yeah, it really, really is. We already spoke about a little bit just about how that approach down to turn 1 can really really change how he kind of goes about this entire race. You need to go on the defensive. You will need to tighten that line up for the Bentley, and don't make it an easy overtake. You've got this golden opportunity to take a win here at Monza. Just get your strategy right, and he could be in for a really, really good shot. And then we'll see, I'm sure, an awesome battle amongst our top three, because they seem to be at the top of the class here. But overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that Ferrari is going to go of Adrian Manduca, because of course he's on the home soil for the Ferrari squad. Of course, we spoke about he's more of a racer than a qualifier, and he's up against, you see right in front of him, is that big old Bentley of Sheldon Muscat. How will they fare in this race? Because they're going to be ones to look at. But I think Baptista is really saying you should be the one to watch it. I'm the one to watch here, because I'm currently on pole position with a really good opportunity of taking a win here. But of course, it's Monza, anything can happen. There's plenty of overtaking opportunities. A little bit harder with these wider, with these big old chunky GT3s. But it is still possible to make these overtakes. You've just got to be smart about it, I'd say here, Jake.
Yeah, well, smarts is a lot of winning a championship, and you've got to be a very smart driver to know when to attack, when to defend, when the right move is on. But you're talking about the top two in the championship, second and third. They've been first and second at each of the first three races this season. The moment this deadlock's going to be broken, it might be broken here by those who are going to jump ahead of them, and as such, there are less points on offer, the difference between the lower places.
It could be. I'm sure there are going to be also drivers in that mid-pack as well, just trying to fight their way up. They want to be challenging for maybe 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe try and get their best results of the season here at Monza on a track that's so familiar to a lot of racing drivers all around the world. But overall, I think that they've just got to put their head down, focus on the job, and just try and take any form of advantage here. Whether that be down to strategy, whether that be down to car, whether that be down to anything, I think they've just got to take that advantage and run with it. But at this moment in time, they're now starting to get into formation. You see their Muscats are waiting just that little bit more longer to get into that right slot. He needs to go over to the left-hand side, but he's currently being covered by, it looks like, oh no, you need him on the right side. So there you go, 2 by 2, they're about to head now. And we're heading to the line here, Jake.
Yeah, so they have to line up, of course, in their position. They have to do it in a timely manner, otherwise they are going to be in trouble when they get to the start line. They've got 45 minutes, of course, to try and put themselves in the best place, but pace is under the control of Aaron De Battista, who is out there and will know that they have to run at pit limiter speeds. He takes the bollard out as he gets himself ready. Let's put 45 minutes on the clock. You can see through the haze of that as they go through. He's got to drive through. He sped too early as he got to the start. He's got to serve a drive-through penalty. A disaster start as they run themselves down to the Rettifilo for the first time. An absolute shamble of a start for him. And now Muscat dives down the inside, looking to take it away. Contact between the teammates. De Battista runs over the road, and Manduca's got around.
Oh, that's going to be an awful start for the Ferrari, but what about that jump start? This has all been now given the hand of Sheldon Muscat. He's going to run through the Rettifilo and on toward the second chicane, but at this moment in time, De Baptista's got to try and hold him off, and look at that, just trying to go for the inside move there. It looks like Muscat would try and let attack, but it's just not quite off. He just needs to stay nice, calm, and content here to just stay within opportunity. Look at Angelo Agius jumping from 6th to 3rd there within the first couple of corners, but he's just unfortunately not being able to stay with those top two. It's going to be a very difficult task, but if he can stay 3rd there, or more cars off into the gravel trap as well.
Yeah, you can definitely sense, I think that was one of the McLarens there who was going off into the gravel back there, so that was disastrous. And suddenly a race like this is just ignited off at the very beginning. De Battista leading from Muscat, and an absolute free kick today for Sheldon, who would have looked around and said, what do I need to do? Adrian Manduca's at the back of the field, spun around. The car in front of him, who could take points away from him, has got a drive-through penalty. and you sit down and you smile knowing it is going to be Angelo and Denzel Agius who will be the two nearest challengers today for the Bentley runner in the number 14. De Battista will have a few laps that he can use to serve it, so I reckon what he'll do at this point is he will use his pace to try and give the toe to Sheldon Muscat, build that margin as much as they can, and play the team game for as long as they can.
Absolutely, of course, they're both in the same Intercomp VMD Sim Sport esports team, so they'll be able to play those games. As much as De Baptista wants the win, of course, you're in the same team colours, and you'll have to hand over that win to the Bentley. It's an unfortunate way, but with the way it's going, yeah, it just seems like the way it has to be played here for the esports team. But they head their way in towards the second chicane. It's still De Baptista from Muscat with still that drive-through penalty to share, and there goes the pit window. It has now been opened, and they carry their way through. I wonder how it's now going to start forming up. Manduca is still a second off Chris Gatt now, but that's Martinelli now, who looks like he's gone round as well.
Yep, so Martinelli's found himself in a bit of trouble, or actually I don't think he's gone around. I think it's more the fact that Manduca's caught up to the back of him and now is running his way through the gauntlet. So I think he's just making the moves, one position after another. He'll have got to get through, and you'd reckon he's got the pace to get up to maybe at least fifth, and this is where he needs these cars to be rather closely packed together, because he can use then the slipstream to get up to the next one, make the next pass, gain the next position. He's already through on Chris Gatt now up into ninth, and now will be looking at Jamie Smith in 8th place. So this is what Manduca needs to do. Chips are down, he needs to find a result.
He does need to find a result here. Manduca now trying to get past Chris Gatt in the McLaren, but I wonder how easy that will be. It looks like he has actually got past the McLaren, but now he has to try and bridge a gap there. Now it's going to be Darryl Martinelli trying to side up the inside successfully of Chris Gatt's number 34 McLaren. And now he's going to be really on the charge, but how much do you want to take out of your car and tyres is the question for me, because at this moment in time, he is really trying to, I know, latch onto the back of the pack, and it's not going to be an easy feat, but he's still got to look after his car. But with the race pace, how much is he going to be fired up here, Jake?
Well, I'd say very. You get spun around on the opening corners of a race, you know that you're immediately on the defensive, and you can be angered by the fact that there's been a spin there, but he will be doing everything in his power to try and claw his way back up through the field. And you can see he's only at 1.1 behind Jamie Smith, now at 1.0 on the Ferrari, who has got that slipstream in front, and you can definitely see there through the lights how much that gravel is being kicked up, and you'll catch it slightly differently in the light. That it will certainly affect you slightly differently, where it would just be a mild annoyance, so to speak, there, that gravel kick up, and what it would be if you were racing in the day.
It will be a little bit more noticeable in the night, especially with your headlights on, being able to kick straight through it. But at this moment in time, I'm seeing Ryan Carabot there in 6th place. He's running a bit of a decent rate, but he's trying to overtake it. Samuel Mifsford, who's currently running in 5th place. Of course, Mifsford has had a best finish of 5th. So at this moment in time, he is equaling it. But Carabot, who's fired up of the 3rd place in Bathurst, I think it's going to be a pretty tight battle. That's going to run quite deep into the race.
Yeah, and we'll see this more and more as it goes on. And now once again, now finally, the 26 car is going to dive in. Now this will not count as a mandatory pit stop here, this drive-through penalty. So De Battista will still have to come back in a second time, and he will fall down the order with this drive-through, and I reckon that he'll fall out pretty much to the back of this pack. He'll be behind the likes of Adrian Manduca by a fair margin, and now Sheldon Muscat unleashed to the tune of 3.6 seconds worth of lead. I tell you what, those laps with Aaron De Battista were golden.
They really, really were, and they really made advantage of that, because now of course, the two Agiuses, not related, are currently just going to be trailing them by a good amount. And I don't think the Ford or the McLaren has the pace to try and hunt down that Bentley. It would take a lot of pressure off the gas pedal for Muscat to be caught here. And of course, with the Ford not quite being as good as maybe some of the other cars around, maybe not quite as developed, I think that 52 will struggle a little bit. I think the McLaren may have a bit of the upper hand. We saw that with De Baptista's pace, but overall, I think we're really going to be keeping an eye here on the Bentley and see maybe if the Ford can get a best finish of all time.
Well, second position for that Mustang would be a wonderful result for Angelo Agius as we focus on Denzel Agius sat at 1.5 seconds adrift right now of the Ford in front. Now, the Agiuses have been together for pretty much the entire run this championship, and this is no exception. They have been together on circuit, separated by a second and a half here and there, and it's almost like you're following the shadows. But I tell you what, Samuel Mifsud has had a wonderful start to this race up in 4th position. He would really do with the points right now after not the greatest showing at Mount Panorama, and this would be a huge haul of points for him if he could finish in 4th.
Absolutely, it would be really, really positive for his season if Mr. can currently make those big old points count. He currently sits 8th in the Drivers' Championship with the best finish at Zolder right at the beginning of the season, where he picked up a decent haul of 14 points. But ever since then, it's really, really been struggles for Misfit. But right now, he's currently got Ryan Carabot right on his back bumper. Carabot, who'll be really looking to try and hunt past that similar Ferrari, of course, similar car as well. So that's going to really pay into neither advantage here. But it's all down to the setup. And wow, a bit of a dicey move there into Les mode didn't come off.
No, it didn't, and as such, Ryan Carabot remains where he is at this point, and you can go aggressive into the first part of the Lesmos, but it's really the drive out the second part that gets the job done. But now Ryan Carabot sits and waits for the way through on Samuel Mifsud. He wouldn't have necessarily raced too much around Samuel Mifsud directly, and as such, it's very difficult to gauge where you can find that move, where you can make that overtaking opportunity. And remember, Ryan Carabot will be looking behind, because Adrian Manduca's in this train behind Alexander Galea. So there is definitely a sense of the bottleneck is there at 4th position. It's only taken Manduca about 10 minutes to get back to the race on for 4th position. I'd say that's a wonderful bit of work.
It is a good piece of driving here, but with this battle there, Carabot is really looking to try and extend as much track as he possibly can within the limits, and he's currently sitting in that slipstream as they file their way down toward the first chicane. You see they're gaining. He'll pull now to the right hand side. Last of the late breakers here. Wonder who it will be. And you can just see there, Carabot softer on the brake. Can he get the car turned in? Yes, he can. A little bit of a biff there from Samuel Mifsud, but it looks like he's gone through Carabot now up into 4th. We see there Manduca, also the 93 Ferrari, still sitting in 7th, but trying to gain here on Alexander Galea. Will Samuel Mifsud have an opportunity to try and go back at him? No, he's not quite there unless he tries to brake later, but doesn't want to go into the back of Carabot. Carabot now up to 4th. Really good run here from the number 13 Ferrari.
Yeah, so this is where the run of car 13 is needed to break away. He's got his pass. He's up now into 4th position. And you see the double purple up there, which means there's a shared fastest lap on the board for De Baptista and for Muscat. So they've both got the same fastest lap time out there. Someone's got to try and find a way to break the tie in that regard. But there is James Smith, who's hoping for a way through, and Jamie, part of the night's carousel, hoping to get himself that little move done. This is going to be on GAT, and this would be for 9th place on the road. And knowing they've got about 3 seconds here, and that's being absolutely hounded down by Aaron De Baptista, there's not really that much of a chance into Ascari, but if you're going to run wide like that, like GAT does, then it's going to be there, and they're both going to fly off the road and somehow save each other's races. That was a sketchy moment for the pair. They both somehow survived.
Oh, that was a very sketchy moment there for both Gat and Smith. I think they were lucky to survive. Well, maybe not Gat because he's very slow there down the back straight. But now De Baptiste had the opportunity to pick up two cars in the space of a lap. But yeah, he's going to be another car on the really on the charge here. But I wonder, and I want to ask you here, Jake, would it be worth getting the pit stop done and out the way, or just try and go as long as possible?
Well, it does depend on how they want to go about it. We see normally that they go 50-50 out there, so they aim to try and go 22.5 minutes and then 22.5 minutes for the second stint. But at least at this stage, if you've got yourself into a bit of trouble over the course of your lap, the easiest way to reset is to go down into the pit, get a fresh set of tyres on and completely change the strategy and just go to the end from there. That might be something worth keeping in the back of the mind, as De Baptiste now will look at 9th position here on Jamie Smith for that, running through the first of the two Lesmo corners, and confidence I think is going to be key. And I think the biggest difference maker is going to be brake markers and how quickly you can follow that speed. Just carry so much more through the corner, and this might be as easy as it gets up the hill.
It might be, because as we now fall down underneath the old banking, we'll now see that the McLaren is able to just go ahead earlier on the brakes, a tighter line. Oh, he's actually fall back here, and there you go, Jamie Smith just managing to be late on the brakes, a bit more defensive. But in terms of the overall outlook of this race, I think De Baptiste is going to just try and pull ahead. They're very, very similar in terms of aerodynamics on each of these cars. It's just about who has that extra grunt. And now with the inside line, I think De Baptiste is going to go through on it, and a little bit of a wiggle, but he's now gone through. But I don't think the battle is quite over here, Jake.
No, I tell you what, this is brilliant stuff by Jamie Smith. He wants to give a race here, and it's at the expense of Aaron De Baptiste, who wants anything but, because you need to make a clean pass, and he is struggling. Look at this, Ferrari versus McLaren. That Ferrari using the slipstream very, very well. Oh, there's going to be some pinching in towards the Rettifilo, and he's going to get the job done. Oh, brilliant stuff. Jamie Smith, take a bow.
Oh, that was beautiful there. Oh, it's James Smith. So apologies on that one, but James Smith really looking to keep a tough situation there. It looks like a bit of a flash there from De Baptiste, but yeah, he lets him through. I think that was a bit of a mistake there. Because you know what, laps car, James, you're racing him. You're racing that McLaren. I think he's just unfortunately let him through on that case. So falling foul of the flashing lights, and De Baptiste really knows the way around this Accesso Corsa Competizione game.
Yeah, he certainly does, and Aaron De Baptiste getting the pass that he wants and getting it done quite comfortably as well. So I think that when you sit down and you understand, okay, this is what I need, every point I can get, when you already sit at one race win behind the driver who leads this championship outright, this is the sort of recovery that De Baptiste is looking at and going, I'm going to be judged on how far I can get up here. I'm 12 seconds adrift of Martinelli at this point in time. I've got to get at least that and maybe one more, as Manduka will be the first to come in and make a stop. Now, I think that's quite clever because he got a little bit bottled up behind the likes of Galea, Mifsud and Karabot.
He did, and I think that that was going to be a very, very close group. At this moment in time, he would not have been able to make a move whatsoever. He just would have been stuck, as you said. But now he's made his way into the pit lane. He's become completely free, and Manduka will now have to wait in the pit lane here. But yes, he will fall to the back of the grid, but he will indeed be making that mandatory stop. He'll be the first one to do it, get it done and out the way with, and now he will look to see if he could potentially get an undercut on everyone around him in that battle. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing if this strategy does come off well, or is he going to be completely bottled up after the strategy once again?
Well, the question's going to be whether he gets himself some clean air, and he absolutely will. Out there on circuit, he has to take the tyres first and then the fuel before he goes, and he's got the green light to say that his stop is made. He will be right down at the very back of the pack, and with the way that everyone's been a little bit more condensed here today, I doubt that we are going to see this at this point where he's going to get traffic. So he should be okay. This is what he was stuck with right now. Alexander Galea can't find a way past Samuel Mifsud, can't find a way to Ryan Karabot here. At the moment, it is pretty much a pause for thought for all of those drivers, and do any of them try and cover off the strategy call which is being made? And I think Galea is eyeing it up. Yeah, he has to cover off the move of Adrian Manduka.
I think that's going to be very important here, Jake. You want to be thinking about all the cars around you, but you also want to be moving forward. And one kind of forward opportunity to make there for Alexander Galea is to cover off a driver like Manduka, because you know he's going to be absolutely flying out of the pit lane here. In fact, you can see there he's pretty much within touching distance of Sheldon Muscat, which is never something I thought I'd say, especially after those first 2 rounds of the championship. I didn't think I'd be saying that in terms of being lapped for Adrian Manduka, but at this moment in time, there's some really, really good fights happening. We're seeing the 2 Agiuses potentially going at it. There's not been too many fights between these two. I think there's a couple of jabs all the way throughout this race here in Monza, but I'm sure Denzel Agius there, Denz, will be very much looking to try and giving a big old jab before then potentially going to look and try and going around that Ford Mustang and getting the position. But so far, really big credit to Alex, to the Ford Mustang running up in second. Awesome thing to see.
Yeah, so you're definitely getting to see what that Mustang's able to do, but Denzel Agius has been slowly clawing that gap in. It has fluctuated at times up to about 1.8 seconds. It's now down to 0.8 seconds, and the big figure of the Mustang is now going to need all those horses to start running away from the McLaren that sits there behind in 3rd position. Now, this is one of the few circuits that maybe strategy is going to be a little less choice out there, as in comes Ryan Karabot to make his stop, just because you're going to be using a lot more fuel around this circuit, Adam, by the nature of your spending over 75% of the lap here around Monza at full throttle.
You're right, and of course, with a circuit that is so much throttle, so much fuel usage comes with that, as well as we continue to watch Samuel Mifsud out on his lap. He's got to make that stop very, very soon, but it seems like he's got some confidence in that number 12 Ferrari that will be able to go a little bit longer. But I think that early stop from Adrian Manduka has really set a domino effect for the rest of the grid, especially the cars that were sitting around him, because we know that Karabot's been in. It looks like De Baptista is also coming in as well, so he needs to make that mandatory pit stop, which he has done early. But I don't think that will kind of make effect in terms of maybe the top 3, top 4. But yeah, really wondering how they're going to kind of approach their own little battle, because both Agiuses will be more in focus on their own and not what's going on in behind. So they're currently trying to make their way, make their battle for 2nd and 3rd, not about that kind of battle that's going on behind. They're going to try and completely avoid that.
Yep, so if they are able to avoid any of those battles out there, it will make life easier, as more of the cars then fly through, the 93 and the 22 being those that go through. So De Baptista's stop here, I think, has not been too bad in the context of what he's been looking for. You can see with the way that he's been able to get that clear space and get back going again, he is looking at, well, who do I need to chase down? And he's still got about 7 or 8 seconds to work on to get to Manduka, but it's there. And in comes Angelo Agius then to make the stop in the Ford Mustang. So that will release the tension here, and Samuel Mifsud will go and follow. It'll be interesting to see where Mifsud's going to come out in relation to Ryan Karabot and Adrian Manduka. If Manduka gets this one correct, he'll like the jump ahead. Manduka, crucially though, with his stop, couldn't jump Ryan Karabot. We got an issue for car 34. That's Gat, who's spun it around now at Ascari. The yellow flags you can see on the mini-map are out for him, so he's had a big moment down there, and he'll be away and going once again. So issues for Gat, but crucially, Manduka trying to rid of Galea. He did jump him in the stops, but the difference is going to be where Ryan Karabot is in comparison, and that number 13 car has waltzed away from where Manduka was to the tune of nearly 10 seconds.
Absolutely. I do wonder if he's taking a little bit less fuel as well in that stop, just because he's able to go that little bit extra. He's gone that little bit extra. He's done his first stint spending. Now he's done his he's fueled up a little bit less in terms of his second stint, because he knows he could do maybe a little bit of fuel saving here and there. But overall, he's put himself in a really, really nice gap there. Over 9 seconds, I think, there to over to Manduka. We'll get an official time for that when we possibly can. But there you go. Misford is now out. He's just behind the 52 there of Angelo Agius. Is that right there?
Yeah, so that number 52 car is going to be important. In fact, I think he will be just behind Gat, potentially, out there, the McLaren. Yeah, so that's where he's come out then with Gat, and there is Angelo Agius, who finds himself in position. So he's got what he wants. In fact, no, sorry, I'll correct myself. I think that might even be Galea that he might be there with. So Missard is going to be in 8th position when he returns to track, and he has. And Ryan Carabot, he only have 1 second width. So I wonder here if Adrian Manduka took maybe a little bit longer amount of fuel in the pit stop, and that was the difference maker, as in comes your race leader.
Absolutely. Muscat making that decision to come into the pit lane. I think that he may have done a little bit of save, because look at the gap that's come down there. Agius, I believe, was a just over 5.5 seconds to the back of Denzel Agius in the McLaren 89. So I wonder if he was really taking his foot off the pedal and taking very, very minimum fuel there. That was very minimal, in fact, and he's just trying to now get out, potentially ahead of the 52, and that is going to be a big, big advantage. He gets out of the pit lane very, very quickly in the number 14. Of course, we all predicted, very, very obviously, will now find his way back into the lead of the race, and this is Sheldon Muscat in his sandbox. He's really fit, he's really free to play as much as he possibly wants to. He's got a big gap behind. He doesn't have to worry about anyone in front, and he now just has to go about getting some really, really good lap times. So maybe you might be a little bit worried about Denzel Agius in the 89 McLaren, but remember that Muscat had a long pit lane. He had to go all the way to the end of the pit lane to make that pit stop.
Yep, he did, and for Sheldon Muscat, remember, he built a fantastic margin. You can see now 15 seconds on Angelo Agius, and now after his pit stop and getting on for the rest of the 22 minutes of racing, now 21 minutes, 20 seconds that he's got. Denzel Agius, of course, yet to make a stop. Same for Daryl Martinelli and Jamie Smith. You've got Chris Gatt, who's in the pits, making his stop currently in the number 34 McLaren. So at least at this point, the Bentley's got the margin that's wanted. The question's going to be whether staying out longer for Denzel Agius is going to be rewarding here right now for him in the number 89 car. He's gone another lap longer, and I think he's trying to leave it late as Jamie Smith dives into the pits in the number 1 Ferrari.
It will be interesting to see what Denzel Agius is kind of up to here, because we know he's kept it pretty long here, but I wonder if he can just try and potentially extend as much as he possibly can. It looks like in fact Muscat's going to have to try and get past Chris Gatt, and I wonder if that will be any form of holding up. I'm not sure if he'll be fully aware of it either, but I think maybe stay out for a couple more laps before then coming back in. But of course, it's all down to Denzel Agius to make that pit stop, and wonder where he'll come out. He'll hopefully come out for his stake in second place, but where do you really realistically think he'll come out here, Jake?
Well, I'm looking here for Denzel Agius at 3rd position. I think that will be what he'll hope for with his strategy. He was there, of course, with Angelo Agius and trying to prove that he can do as much as he can. But 3rd, I think, would be the bare minimum. 2nd is what he'd absolutely love. And in fact, on cue, he'll take the dive left-hand side of screen, right-hand side on circuit, into the pit and make his 1 scheduled mandatory stop.
I think it's going to be important here, Jake. Of course, he's going to try and take minimum fuel into this McLaren 720 GT3 car and just try and hopefully put himself in a decent position, whether that be behind Muscat, whether that be behind Agius. But he's got to be careful of where he comes out, as in comes Daryl Martinelli, because look at the gap there between Angelo Agius and Ryan Carabol. Yes, it looks like it says 4 seconds there, but look at it on the mini-map. That's a pretty tight gap to try and get yourself into, especially when you think about it at full racing speed.
Yeah, and at that full racing speed, you need to be up to pace and quickly. As you see, there is Sheldon Muscat, who will now re-inherit the race lead. There's no doubt about it, with the 296 and Martinelli in the pits, with Denzel Agius in the pits. It's Sheldon Muscat who will now take control and put the blue flags over to Chris Gatt, who is about to move 1 lap down here in this race. Movement then coming out of the pits for car number 89, and 52 is making its way on the front stretch as off the road goes Gatt. We need to look back at second, because I think car number 89 has got the overcut sorted here, and Denzel Agius has. Brilliant bit of strategy work. He gets better as the race goes on. His racecraft ages like fine wine, and my word, was he a Chardonnay.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant there from the 89. He played that to absolute perfection. He knew he had trust in his pace. He had trust in his racecraft, and Denzel Agius coming out in front of that Ford Mustang. I was thinking that Ford was potentially going to gallop into second place once again, but by 0.8 of a second, my goodness, has that McLaren played it to absolute perfection. I think even if he went 1 lap further, I think that would have been it for the Ford to just try and go past, because those tyres were very much going off. The fuel needed to go maybe a little bit shorter, but I think that Ford would have got through, especially at that full racing speed. But we got that battle going once again. They cannot be separated, the two Agiuses, as they head their way through Ascari. I think this battle could continue, but with the upper hand going to that McLaren 89.
Yeah, and so with Denzel Agius now clear at 0.7 of a second, it's now down for Angelo Agius to make that charge back, try and find that move, that extra position for what would be a career best here of second, and both of them looking for their best results of the season. Ryan Carabot at 4.5 seconds back would certainly be hoping. Adrian Manduka has been trying to pull that gap back to Samuel Mifsud and Ryan Carabot. Now, I wonder whether this has been a tyre call strategy game here with the likes of Adrian Manduka, who would have gone onto a fresh set of tyres trying to guarantee them to get to the end. Those going a little bit further, maybe deciding that because they don't have to deal with so many corners here, Adam, that they've decided to gamble on those tyres. That was the difference that we saw, very similar to the season opener, and straight on abandon goes Agius, and round goes Denzel Agius. Both of them with mistakes, and they've just opened Ryan Carabot up, and it's going to be Angelo Agius through by taking the shortcut, which was the long cut.
Oh, that's going to be very much looked into. I think that's a little bit naughty there, but we'll get a replay here. They barrel their way down toward the first chicane. You see the Ford Mustang gaining. I think just missed a braking point. Just completely miss it. It's a very, very long braking point. It's a tiny little touch, but that is all you need in these GT3 cars. A tiny little touch. Round went the McLaren, luckily to keep third place, but that does levitate the Ford Mustang back up into second, which will be great for the American squad, but maybe not for the British side. But overall, it's still some heart-pounding racing action. Meanwhile, what is Manduka doing? Still in 6th place and quite the way off Samuel Mifsud there. The Ferrari's currently running 4th, 5th and 6th at best. If you want the remaining two, they're currently down in 9th and 10th.
They are, and they will have a lot of work to do. Aaron De Battista, by the way, in 8th position with the drive-through penalty served at the opening for speeding before the drop of the green flag and not respecting the speed limit that is imposed going for the racing. So for Aaron De Battista, a mistake that, quite frankly, he didn't want to make out there, but one that he has, and it's a long road for him to gain anything more than what he's got at the moment. Adrian Manduka well out of position. We're on board with him right now. It's a lonely road. You're chasing down lights in the distance here, and for Samuel Mifsud, he's doing a wonderful job of keeping away Adrian Manduka. That gap is 3.5 seconds to chase in 14 minutes and 36 seconds.
Absolutely, and also Samuel Mifsud going for a equaling best finish of the season. Of course, we spoke earlier about Samuel Mifsud getting that place back at Zolder, so we'll be looking to replicate that here at Monza, the stomping ground of Ferrari, but he'll be hunted down here by an absolutely charging Adrian Manduka. Is really looking to try and make something happen, but only gaining by a tenth there. It's not seeming to be enough with the 14 minutes they've got remaining. He's going to have to make a big old push, but does he have the tyres? Does he have the fuel? Does he have the car? Does he really have the energy in himself to try and close down that gap? Because it's a very, very tough kind of gap to try and close down. And especially, like you said, Jake, you're pretty much trying to chase light in the distance, and that just kind of makes it a little bit more demoralizing. You really feel yourself struggling trying to catch the cars ahead, especially in conditions like this where visibility is at a low and you're not really chasing a car. You're just trying to catch whatever is in front of you, and you're not seeing it very, very well.
Yeah, it's very tough to gauge, and basically you've just got to start flying and going as quickly as possible. I tell you what, Angelo has done really well to claw back up to Denzel Agius, so I think that they've traded the places back again, and here's going to be the next try and make this move. And I think right now for Denzel Agius, he'll be hoping to hold on. They've lost half of the gap over to Ryan Carabot, and it's 21 seconds. The front of the field. Where do you find that look? And the answer is late on the brakes, but not quite there from Angelo Agius. Still hoping there's a little bit more that's going to be there. Denzel Agius is doing everything possible to keep this manageable at this stage, knowing that the more that he scraps and battles here, they're going to let everyone else back in.
They're very much so, so you've got to be a little bit careful. Of course, Carabot's there right in the background. Samuel Mifsud. Also, you see just the headlights at the top of the screen there you potentially saw, but he's on the charge as well. Manduka's closed that gap, but I believe that was only 2/10 compared to last time around. So you've got to give credit there to Mifsud. He's keeping up the good pace here. So are both the Agiuses, and it seems to be a really good feel-good factor about this race here in Monza. We've got some really, really good results, but if you're one of the championship challengers, apart from if your name it does not start with Sheldon and doesn't end in Muscat, you're probably walking away from Monza feeling very, very demoralized.
Yeah, I think you really will. If it doesn't go the right way, you're pretty much sat looking, and that is Angelo Agius around at Ascari and almost buried in the gravel's going to have to try and reverse it, and it's such an awkward position for him to go through. We'll take another look. He just grabbed the anti-cut curve and bang, it's straight into the barriers, and that was that for car 52, and the hopes of a podium for the Mustang have just been vanquished.
That was very, very horrible sight to see. That car has been running so well all throughout the race, and to end in a retirement is just not things you like to see. It felt very, very horrible watching that Ford just smash into the tyre barrier, but we'll elevate Manduka up another place, elevate De Baptista, who's had a torrid race himself, up another place, but overall now Carabot is looking on for a third place of the season. If he can go past that, he'll go past Denzel Agius in the he won't go past Denzel Agius in the championship because he's currently sitting there in second place, but keeping some really good pace. I think overall a lot of these drivers are doing well.
Yeah, this is one of those rounds where if you can find a great finish, you're going to pick up some big points. It's big there that incident happened because Adrian Manduka moves up one, still stuck at 2.7 seconds away from Samuel Mifsud, but you're talking about damage limitation here, and this is a big, sizable shift in the championship with Manduka down in 5th and De Battista in 7th. It's a great chance for Ryan Carabot to pull himself up. Denzel Agius, who's 4th in the championship, is going to pick up some big points. And it looks like there has been a pass for position now for 4th and 5th. So Adrian Manduka through on Samuel Mifsud, which could only be described as a 3-second mistake in the second sector. And suddenly he's up to 4th and he is climbing.
He is, but it's a big gap there to a on-charging Carabot. I don't know if he'll be able to get that number 13 Ferrari, but if 4th is one to settle for, I'm not sure if he's going to really be able to handle that later on, but he'll be able to have that week break and have 2 weeks until we head off to the next round of the championship. And in comes, in fact, Samuel Mifsud. So he's not happy about something in his on his Ferrari 296 GT3 either. So I think potentially a new fresh set of tyres, or, well, I'm not entirely sure here, Jake.
Yeah. It's going to be tough back in for Samuel Mifsud. I wonder if that's a damage repair that he needs getting done, and that's why he jumped back into the pits. So that'll be the only thing that I'd think of here for Samuel Mifsud's Ferrari, is that he picked up a bit of damage and realised, oh, hang on a minute, I've got the damage because I've let my tyres go a little bit too long. And that could be where the difference is being made. So that is going to be worth keeping in mind. And a real shame for Samuel Mifsud after the way that he's driven this one. But Adrian Manduka now into 4th position. I think that's about the best of the lot that he can do, and he's done really well to get back to 4th.
He has done, and Manduka can only be credited for it, especially when if you know the feeling of being pushed right at the beginning of the race, right down to last place, and having to fight your way back, just trying to chase whatever's in front of you. It is a very difficult thing to do so, and I think he is actually now lapping, in fact, here, that Chris Gatt, I believe he's going to just try and lap past it. Yeah, it looks like that orange, blue and black McLaren 720S GT3 there. That was Gatt just being overtaken. But at this moment in time, Manduka, I think he can be happy with the scenario that he's put through at the start of the race.
Yeah, he can definitely be happy with the way that he's recovered back through and gained the places that he's done. Aaron De Battista in 6th position will also be quite happy with the recovery that's been done here in this job. With 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go and under, I think this is the statement victory that everyone's looking at and going, wow, he's been gifted this one, but he's had to earn every second that he's had out there. He is pretty much a full complex ahead of everyone else behind. 25 seconds clear in a 45-minute race is something that we call light years.
It does feel like a very long time, but this just shows what Sheldon Muscat is made of. He is one of those drivers that absolutely fights to the end, and of course with now the championship very much opening up for the number 14 Bentley, he will really look to try and just build on this championship advantage. I'm sure he'll see that on the left hand side, you'll see Manduka down there in 4th place and think this has been a good day for the big old Bentley, and he only has a couple more laps to go. As he crosses the timing beam, we'll have about 6 minutes and 16 seconds remaining. I think he's just going to enjoy every single lap of this.
Yeah, I think that he is as well, and he knows how important it is just to string these laps together. Don't do anything silly. You've got an almighty outstanding margin out here at the front. Manduka still trying to hunt down what is Ryan Carabot for position, just trying to run through the gauntlet as things stands. We'll have a little bit of slipstream from the car in front, and I think that'll be Chris Gatt potentially there, or I might be mistaken, that might actually be Ryan Carabot, and suddenly that gap's down to 1.1. So put this on for the podium. Adrian Manduka here might have an opportunity to really damage limit around this, and if he can steal a podium away late from being spun around and dead last at the end of the opening corner, that would be massive in the context of his championship and would be one of the most almighty drives.
It will have to be going down as one of the best drives you have potentially seen here on a Testa Corsa Competizione, especially. I've not commentated much on a Testa ACC, but this is a very, very big drive. If he can nab a podium, that will just really, really complete it. He's trying to use every piece of the circuit there. He's trying to stay within the confines of the circuit, but is he going to be able to catch that fellow Ferrari? I'm not too sure with the time remaining. It's going to require a big mistake here from Karabot, a lot of confidence from Manduka, but again, is there still gas in the tank? There's still steam in the tank to try and get through, but that car feels very, very loose, very, very wiggly out of some of these corners, but he's just trying absolutely everything to hunt down that final podium place and really limit the damage here, Jake.
Yeah, this is going to be a big move if it can be found, and at 1.2 seconds adrift, this is going to need a little bit of careful planning here from Adrian Manduka to try and get through and gain that little bit more that is going to unlock what is required. Still 1.1 seconds and another lap ticked off. He's going to have to try and cut the gap in half on this lap, and that will give the requirement that is needed. They'll look in front, they will see that car 89 is there up the road in second position, but there will also be one car in between them, which will be the number 12 car of Samuel Mifsud, who will have to pull out of the way if he's caught as lap traffic and be overtaken. So that will also be in the back of the mind. Manduka now hoping to find a little bit of something over the course of this lap, which will unlock that potential. Not a great first sector though. Back to 1.6, and Ryan Karabot gives himself the gap he wants.
He is starting to now potentially make a little bit of gains here, is Karabot, because he's now starting to open that gap out. And I think we've really got to give Karabot credit. Another driver I think has had to be credited during this race, and it's because he's just settling into that Ferrari so well. Remember back at Zolder, back at Silverstone, he was making errors. He was starting to make some silly rookie errors, but now finds himself really settling into that Ferrari 296 GT3 Evo, and has now found himself going for a second podium in a row. We knew he had some great qualifying pace in him, but did he have that race pace? I think it was just a case of staying out of trouble, and he's managed to do that the last two rounds, and is currently fighting with one of the top championship contenders. But at this moment in time, Karabot just got to try and keep that car on the road, on the black stuff, and he'll be able to pull it round and hopefully make another step in his gains here for the Ferrari team.
Well, that looks really good. Then through the final sector, was 4/10 down, pulled it back, and then claims almost a second back through that little bit, and now pulls himself to 5/10 of a second. 2 laps to find the move that puts him on the podium, really deep on the brakes in towards the Rettifilo, and can't quite get it pulled up, but it wasn't the intention. It was to get close, to scare in the mirrors. Those lights will be dazzling behind, and now over through the Biasino curve, the Curva Grande, over towards the Della Roggia. Adrian Manduka, this is your moment. Can he line it up here? No, I think he's half thinking about it, getting in the mirrors, but there'll be better opportunities on the horizon.
I spoke about it before and I'll say it again. Get your opponent driving in the mirrors, especially during the night time. Get him off-putted in the mirrors. Get those lights shining right into the eyeballs, into the irises of the driver. Get him looking behind. There's a bit of an off moment there, and that will just sparkle up the lights here of Adrian Manduka. Look how far he is tucked right behind that Ferrari, the fellow Ferrari. Going to try and go to the outside, but that's good defending there from Karabot. Just sitting that car in the middle of the circuit. They'll class their way over the first part of the chicane, through the right, through the left once again, and it will once again be that slipstream all the way down to a Parabolica.
Yeah, and a little bit over the curb there on the right-hand side didn't help for Adrian Manduka. It will unlock here what is not going to be a pass around this right-hander. So it's going to be a lot more to try and deal with and navigate heading towards the end of this race. And there will be one final lap remaining, and you feel this is the best place that Adrian Manduka can make the pass on Ryan Carabot. And he will now close, and it's the middle of the road for Ryan. And is there going to be a lunge from Adrian as they now pivot onto the brakes? It gets close, but not there, not quite. Not yet, but there are still chances left, which could be up at Ascari, and it could also be over at that curve at Alboreto to end the lap. One thing to note, the timer has just expired, and it might mean that Sheldon Muscat is half a lap away from his victory at this point, with his half a minute in the back pocket. No move then through the Della Roggia, but this is where Ryan Carabot is strongest, but this is where Manduka will start looking to attack back through a couple of these Lesmo corners, and then heading for an opportunity, moving over then to try and get a little bit more turn in through the corner. And this is the corner that Carabot needs to get right, and it looks like he's managed that as he heads up the hill. Round the final corner goes Sheldon Muscat. He has left them in the dark. Dominant display by Sheldon Muscat. 3 straight wins here at Monza. But we look back to what's going on for second, for third, and for fourth, because Denzel Agius might be on course for this amazing second place finish. But watch out, because Adrian Manduka's got to run, heading to the final corner, the curve at Alboreto. Does he look left? Does he look right? Does he throw it in, or is he looking for drive off the exit? Carabot goes in, he slides a little bit through the middle of the corner. Manduka's trying everything. Agius will take second position, and Carabot will hold for that third, but a great recovery nevertheless from Adrian Manduka.
Oh, super stuff there from both cars to be able to put up a brilliant display like that. But Manduka just had that bit of a slide on through the last corner. You could just tell the tyres were going away, but also he was at full push, max push if you need. That was an absolutely awesome performance from all of our top 4 drivers. Alexander Galea also coming over the timing line to put in a 5th place, so he'll grab a good haul of points. Then comes Aaron De Baptista to recover to 6th place. Daryl Martinelli will come home in 7th as well, followed by James Smith, then Samuel Mifsud and Chris Gatt, rounding off the 10 cars. And the one retirement came from Angelo Agius, unfortunately, in the Ford Mustang. I'm sure he'll come back even bigger, better than ever when we go to the next round of the championship. But round 4 is done, halfway through the championship season, and there's only one man I think we can say who is very much in control. He can't take his foot off the pedal just yet, but that gap just becomes ever more extensive.
It's a case of how do you manage Sheldon Muscat. He has got 3 straight victories and a second at the opener at Zolder. That was his best drive of the season by a country mile, and that is a scary prospect for everyone here right now. There will be a 1 week's break in the action, so we will not be with you next week for racing, as the halfway stage puts a 1 week break. You can see we're at Kyalami next time we're with you, and the 4 races from home, of course, where we travel 4 different continents. We go over, of course, from Africa to Asia with Suzuka, over to North America with Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then back over to Europe with Imola being your final round of the season. I can't wait to see that happen on what has been a wonderful show's worth of racing here in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, brought to you here on Velocity Esports Racing with GamingMalta, Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and with JACAP. From Adam Reed and myself, Jake Sperry, what a pleasure it has been once again to bring you this coverage. They have left him all alone in the dark, and nobody could catch him. Sheldon Muscat is nigh on unstoppable at this moment in time. 3 straight victories, cannot keep him out of the top 2, but Manduka did all he could to try and recover. That gap, though, will definitely, seriously extend out once more. Second half of the season awaits. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we head to Kyalami.